Another report from the Daily Wire I think is important. In one generation, the world has experienced seismic shifts in the way we communicate and relate to one another, but these changes are coming at a high cost, particularly to our children. Most teenagers, 97%, report being online every day, and nearly half say they're online almost constantly. But recent research from scientists at the University of North Carolina shows that all of this time on social media is linked to changes in the teen brain. By looking at brain scans of middle schoolers between the ages of 12 and 15, neuroscientists at UNC found that frequent social media users at age 12 showed heightened sensitivity to social rewards from peers over time. Teenagers who were less engaged with social media at age 12 showed less interest in social rewards over time. Jean Twang, a psychology professor at San Diego State University and author of iGen, has also sounded the alarm on the link between social media use and anxiety and depression in teens. There's a substantial link to depression, and that link tends to be stronger among girls. The more time the teen, particularly a teen girl, spends using social media, the more likely it is that she will be depressed, according to Twang. Any new habit or learned behavior leaves its imprint on the brain. The fact that the brain is imprinted by social media use should not come as a surprise, but most parents who let their children create social media accounts are probably unaware of the extent to which these social media accounts are training their children to seek peer approval or what the long-term consequences may be. So this is just the latest bit of scientific evidence that it is not good for children for them to sit around all day staring at their phones. Remember, 50, and I think the number's probably low, but according to the latest data, latest surveys, 50% of teens and adolescents say that they're online constantly. And by constantly, and anyone who's ever been around a kid in this category knows that constantly really means constantly. Like they're never not on. They sleep and then they wake up and they're staring at their phone the entire day. No matter what else they're doing, they have the phone and they're looking at their phone. I don't think we certainly have never needed to wait around for scientific evidence that this is not a healthy way to live. And I don't need any scientific analysis or any study to tell me this is not a healthy way for kids to live. The only thing that science will do is tell us in precisely what sort of ways it is unhealthy. So we know that it's extremely unhealthy, and we can figure out a lot of the ways that it's not healthy. Driving the obesity epidemic is one thing. That's the least of it. But then science, I suppose, can come back around and get a little bit more specific. Give us some of the details. None of these details are surprising. It's not even a human existence. The human beings were not meant to live this way. And whenever we can look at the way that we're living our lives right now, this is part of learning from history and learning from our ancestors. And I know people these days, they want to pretend that our ancestors and have nothing to teach us and nothing to tell us. We want to sever ourselves entirely from our ancestors. Not listen to the testimony of those who came before us, but that's a very foolish way to live. And if you were to listen to them, then you should look at the way you're living, and you could ask yourself, like, what is it about modern life that would be entirely foreign to our ancestors? And just because it'd be entirely foreign to our ancestors doesn't mean that it's necessarily wrong. There's a lot of modern medicine, at least the legitimate parts of it, that would have been foreign to our ancestors. Antibiotics would have been foreign to them. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't take them. But having a little device that you carry around all the time and having your entire life center around this device, that is one of those things that is unprecedented in history. There's no analog for it. Many of the things that we think are unprecedented in modern history, when you look at it, you see that, well, this is just a version of something that existed before. Nothing new under the sun, as it says, as we say. Actually, there are some things that are new under the sun. Smartphones and the internet are new under the sun. There is no analog for it. Nothing comparable to it historically. This is an entirely new thing. It might be one of the only entirely new things. And so this is an entirely new thing that we have decided to completely structure our lives around. That in and of itself doesn't make it wrong, but it is a reason to examine it and say, no one's ever lived this way before. We are verging off a completely different path. Is this the right thing to do? I think in this case, it's obviously not. And clearly, when your kids grow up on this stuff and all they ever do is use the internet and their whole life is structured around it, as they found in the study, I mean, among other things, makes them a lot more susceptible to peer pressure, a lot more susceptible to influence, much more desperate for approval and affirmation. Kids already are inclined in that way. They need approval and need affirmation. That's not an unhealthy desire for a child. But for kids that are on social media, this is their entire life. You got to, I mean, I could keep saying it a million times over, and I will continue to say it. You have to rescue your children from this. You just must. You must force your children to have real childhoods and to live real human lives, and they're not going to like it. If you've allowed them to use the phone up until now, and you take that stuff away, and if you allow them to play video games 6 hours a day and you take that away, they're not going to like it at first. They're going to react like a heroin addict when you take the heroin needle away, but it's for their own good. You just have to, for their own sake. And that'll do it for this portion of the show as we move over to the members block. Hope to see you there. If not, talk to you tomorrow. Godspeed.